Picture yourself strolling down a moody London street at dusk. You pass rows of identical brick flats, each window glowing warm and ordinary. Yet, behind one of those curtains, a carpenter named John Sweeney once balanced a hammer in one hand and a paintbrush in the other, hiding a lethal secret in plain sight. You're about to step into a story where love, art, and murder swirl together like oil on water, forming colors that mesmerize even as they warn you to look away. Ready? Let's open that door. You hear the creak of aged floorboards. In the corner, propped against a wall, stands a canvas smeared with deep reds and rusty browns. At first glance, it could pass for modern expressionism, but look closer, and the brushstrokes hint at violence. Now imagine Sweeney's voice, warm and disarming, promising to paint your portrait next. Would you stay? Would you even sense the danger? That chilling question is exactly where our story begins. John Thomas Sweeney arrived in London in the late 1970s, fresh from Merseyside. He wasn't a criminal mastermind then. He was a blue-collar carpenter who sometimes moonlighted as a bar doorman. He had the thick Scouse accent, a swagger you might call charming, and a laugh that rattled pint glasses. Yet creativity tugged at him harder than any 9-to-5, so he taught himself to paint. Soon he was turning out large, unsettling canvases that showed women with hollow eyes and contorted limbs. Friends chalked it up to dark imagination. No one guessed the portraits were rehearsals. Fast forward to 1986. You're in Rotterdam with Sweeney, an American model, Melissa Halstead. She's 6 feet tall, all confidence and flair, and she thinks she's found a free-spirited English boyfriend who shares her love of art. They rent a small studio, paint side by side, and toast cheap wine when the workday ends. But arguments flare. Sweeney's temper flashes like a box cutter, quick and precise. One night neighbours hear thuds and a woman's cry. Then silence. Days pass, Melissa vanishes, and Sweeney tells curious friends she ran off to Paris to chase fashion gigs. In reality, her body drifts headless and handless down a Rotterdam canal, unclaimed for decades because no one can identify her. You're probably asking, how did police miss him? Remember, this is the pre-internet era. Databases didn't sync across borders. European cooperation was more paper-based than digital. Without fingerprints or dental records, Melissa's remains became just one more Jane Doe. Back in London, Sweeney starts scribbling crosswords during coffee breaks. He isn't casually filling in boxes. He's encoding personal confessions. Phrases like canal body or river head slide neatly into numbered squares. The puzzles look ordinary unless you know the gruesome backstory, and that was precisely his thrill. Hiding truth in sight of anyone who dared to solve it. You flip a few pages of his battered sketchbook and land on a chilling cartoon. 2 women lie dismembered beneath the caption, "Death is the solution." The arrogance jumps off the paper. He believes no one will piece it together. That arrogance keeps him bold. Move to 1994. Enter Paula Fields, a British mother of 3, freshly divorced and eager for a new chapter. She meets Sweeney at a Camden pub, where he's renovating the bar. He flashes charisma, buys her a drink, and soon they're inseparable. To friends, Paula gushes. He's intense, but he really listens. Intensity, of course, can be a red flag disguised as passion. Within months, Paula calls police twice, reporting that Sweeney smashed furniture and threatened her with a knife. Both times she drops the charges. Maybe she fears retaliation. Maybe she hopes love will squash rage. You might know someone in a similar bind. That's why Paula's chapter matters. Coercive control is insidious because it masquerades as devotion. By Christmas 2000, Paula disappears. Sweeney tells her family they argued. She stormed out, and he hasn't seen her since. Winter slides into January and then February. Floodwaters swell along the region's canal. On Valentine's Day 2001, workers dredging the channel haul up a green hold-all bag. Inside they find human legs, neatly severed. Over the next week, 8 more bags surface, each containing another body part. The head is never found. Forensic technicians patch together tattoos and scars to identify Paula Fields. The media christen the killer with a tabloid flourish, the Canal Killer. Detectives now pull threads. They re-interview Paula's friends, examine her phone logs, and soon a familiar name surfaces: John Sweeney. Officers search his flat in Kentish Town and discover an arsenal of incriminating art. Sketches of female corpses, diary entries describing murder fantasies, and those cryptic crosswords. One unfinished grid reads, "Watery Grave, Valentine Camden." Chills run down every spine in the incident room. You might wonder, why crosswords? Psychologists later argue Sweeney enjoyed intellectual one-upmanship. He craved the feeling of being smarter than the cops, flaunting clues like a peacock flaunts feathers. In his mind, embedding details in a harmless pastime proved he was playing three-dimensional chess, while everyone else toyed with checkers. Interrogation day arrives. You picture a small table, 2 officers, a digital recorder blinking red. Sweeney sits casually, cuffed, but smirking. He denies everything, claims Paula fled to France, tosses out the same line he used on Melissa. Detectives push the puzzles toward him. He shrugs them off as artistic expression. But computer analysts are already reverse engineering the grids, mapping every word to timelines, missing person reports, and canal dump sites. That data crossmatch provides probable cause to dig deeper. Meanwhile, international alerts go out. Dutch authorities respond, flagging an unsolved canal murder from 1988 that fits Sweeney's modus operandi. British detectives fly to Rotterdam, sift through cold case archives, and retrieve photos of the still unidentified Jane Doe with missing head and hands. Those photos show a small metal screw in the right knee. Long shot? Yes, but they trace the orthopedic bolt back to a Chicago hospital where Melissa Halstead once had knee surgery. Finally, the victim in the Rotterdam Canal is named. You can almost hear dominoes falling. 2 victims, 2 canals, and 1 man whose artwork basically signed the canvas. Prosecutors charge Sweeney with 2 counts of murder. Courtrooms buzz with reporters, sketch artists, and spectators hungry for the next sensational detail. The prosecution rolls out Sweeney's paintings on giant easels. Jurors wince at images that look ripped from a nightmare. Women bound, decapitated, floating in water under moonlight. A forensic linguist testifies that crossword clues match dates and events only the killer would know. The defense argues creative freedom, but the room feels the weight of coincidence collapsing. During cross-examination, a prosecutor leans in and asks, "Do you consider yourself a good carpenter?" Sweeney nods. The prosecutor fires back, "Is that why every bone we recovered showed precision cuts, like a joiner crafting dovetails?" The silence is deafening. Jurors scribble notes. The case is closing itself. After a 6-week trial, the verdict lands. Guilty on both counts. Sweeney receives life with a whole life tariff, meaning no parole. He exits the dock still sneering, as though convinced history will recast him as a misunderstood artist. Yet his only gallery now is a prison cell. Pause here and breathe. 2 women lost their lives, and countless friends and relatives will forever carry that grief. So what can you, an engaged listener, take from their stories? First, artistry isn't immunity. Just because someone shares your creative hobbies doesn't mean they share your moral compass. Second, coercive control often starts with subtle suggestions: how you dress, who you meet, which dreams you pursue. Those suggestions can harden into threats before you even name the pattern. Police, too, learned critical lessons. Inter-agency data sharing has since tightened across Europe. Today, when Dutch divers pull a bag from a canal, its DNA profile pings across continents in hours, not decades. Cold case units now include digital clue analysts who comb social media, puzzles, even song lyrics for hidden messages. The Sweeney case showed that murderers sometimes curate their own evidence. You might still be asking, could someone like Sweeney operate unchecked today? Technology certainly makes secrecy harder. CCTV saturates cities, smartphones record every whim, and border databases talk to each other. Even so, personal vigilance matters. If a partner's affection feels like surveillance, if their jokes slice rather than tease, pay attention. Speak up. Share concerns. No crossword should ever be the only hint that danger lurks. Let's bring this in for a soft landing. Close your mental tour of Sweeney's workshop and step back onto that London street. The night air feels cooler, clearer. You understand now that evil doesn't always stomp in wearing a ski mask. Sometimes it quietly dips a brush in crimson and calls it art. Yet knowledge is its own armor. By tracing Sweeney's path from moody carpenter to convicted killer, you've sharpened your ability to spot the early sketches of coercion in your own world. So remember 3 takeaways. 1. Charisma without accountability is a magician's illusion, captivating but dangerous. 2. Hidden messages aren't always literary games. Sometimes they're confessions begging for notice. 3. Trust the tingling instinct that whispers when admiration slides into fear. You arrived curious, you're leaving alert, and the next time someone slides a crossword across the table, you might just read between the lines. Stay safe out there.